Leah here. At this time, we bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. What we would like all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all the information that we have to share. Please also understand that all of the information that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and soul. So we say hello to the hostess, Elena. Thank you. And how can we assist you today?
Hello, Adronis. It's wonderful to have you with us today.
We thank you.
I would like to ask some questions to begin with, and then
Yes.
I have our viewers who would like to ask some questions as well, if that's okay with you.
Of course.
Brad had done an interesting channeling yesterday, and
Yes.
there was a lot of information brought in. Can you discuss any of those topics
Yes,
with us?
primarily in regards to what is, shall we say, sanctioned as generalized here, is that your planet is going through a great deal of changes. Now, there are certain individuals upon your planet that are specifically calibrated to fulfill tasks on a unconscious or even at times subconscious level. Now, basically, your own energetics have been calibrated in a certain way through certain guides, certain forms of facilitators that are working deeply contracted with certain individuals, and that these individuals are basically healing the planet just by existing, just by being. And so basically you could refer to your chakra centers being calibrated in specific degrees of hues of color that may radiate very differently from what you would consider to be as your atypical rainbow spectrum that represents the common color code for chakras. There are certain individuals in that sense that are performing these tasks, again, do not realize that they are performing these tasks, and that is all part of the healing that is taking place. Now, this is basically what we would refer to as a type of automatic repair, is that many of you who are, quote unquote, the ground crew, who are just living your lives, are healing the planet subconsciously, unconsciously. That is primarily what is taking place upon this planet. There are more and more and more of you that are all across the planet, often young at age, or again, what you would consider to be in your younger adult years, most commonly, that are, again, just continuing to interact, talk to people, go to your jobs, go to your work. And even though you feel you had a quote unquote regular day, you have done a lot of healing during that time. So this is primarily giving you the idea that you are beacons of consciousness, beacons of light that hold a healing energy. And you're actually helping to repair the rifts, the lesions that have been brought upon the earth for thousands and thousands of years, since the time of your falling of Atlantis. So basically, there is a gigantic form of repair regime that is taking place upon your planet, and that is in that sense accelerating this healing by leaps and bounds. So again, as we stated, your energy has a consciousness of its own that is not linked to the idea of the conscious self. And so again, there is a great deal of restructuring taking place here. This is all part of you moving into a fourth density Earth, which is happening between the times of your fall and between the times of your winter solstice this year. And so as you move more into that brand new planet, as it were, that whole new octave of consciousness, these are the rifts that are being repaired. This is the stairwell that is being created to shift many of you into that fourth density Earth. Now, we have been made aware that there are certain individuals upon your planet who have been labeled as targeted individuals, and that these particular forms of targeted individuals have had certain forms of encounters relating to what you would know as shadow agencies that have basically been stalking, that have basically attempted to suppress, much in regards to the energetics preventing this. Now, what we want to say today is something that nobody has spoken about before. And this is something that we wish to share with all of the people that may have been seen as targeted individuals. You have help. You have protection. There are certain interventional fleets that are, shall we say, floating or orbiting around your planet that are designated to assist targeted individuals in being able to counteract any particular effects that come through relating to these agencies that are attempting to suppress energetics, attempting to suppress mentality, mind-altering forms. So basically, with these particular forms of interventional fleets, all of you who felt that you have some type of connection with other beings, connection in realizing that you know that something is deeply happening with you that you really cannot explain, and that you felt that you have been followed, that you have been in that sense stalked by these other particular types of agencies. When that happens, you have the ability to place a call to an interventional fleet. So this is basically where you may feel that, well, Adronis, I don't know what alignment I have with this interventional fleet. That doesn't matter. If you feel that, for example, you are being violated, your free will is being violated, and you are in that sense implanted and feeling that you cannot even, shall we say, distinguish between your own thoughts and the thoughts of a radio transmission in that way of example, this would represent the idea of a targeted individual, and that targeted individuals can be protected. Any particular human being on this planet that has their free will violated, which means a trespassing of their own mind, a trespassing of their own feeling, a trespassing of their own physical body that feels that it has been, in that sense, in conflict with, through other particular forms of shadow agencies, is eligible to have interventional protection. So this is what we want to share with all of you today. For you to go within, to allow yourself to go into a deep state of focus, a meditative state as you wish, and simply place a call. There are people that we have talked to, interacted with, that again have been going through these targeted individual situations, and this will cease. So again, there are units that are standing by that will offer their protection. Now understand, they still have a hands-off policy. They are not here in that sense to show up in the flesh, as it were, and in that sense chase these beings away. But what they are basically doing is they are working together with you as specific guides. These particular guides can actually tell you when there are cautionary situations to be considered, often being brought forward through relayed telepathic imagery transmissions, and that they are able to work together with you very diligently to assisting in the idea of any particular type of suppression from any particular, shall we say, external agency to become nullified. And so again, these interventional fleets do correspond to different types of beings. Some again are human, some are non-human. Some exist within, say, the Pleiades, Arcturus, Andromeda, Sirius, etc. But again, it's all part of you being able to place that call. So basically, we are receiving a symbol here that can be generically used, that you can, through your own means, utilize in the form of meditation, should you feel that you are a quote-unquote targeted individual. Now again, this does not apply for everybody. This applies for the select few. But again, everything that we have aforementioned pertaining to the idea of violation of free will, if this is happening, there is a symbol that you can utilize. We would imagine you to see a triangle like this. We'd be able to see a line that intersects the triangle, that moves just beyond the triangle and just below the triangle. So basically, if you had a line here, and a longer line here, this can be a generic symbol that you can use. You may feel free to duplicate this symbol by writing it out, by drawing it out, by envisioning it, whatever you feel is best for you. But this is a generic symbol that you can use that is a symbol of an interventional assistance. So again, if you feel that you have been a quote-unquote targeted individual, and we would suggest that many of you look that term up, and you are feeling that you are being violated pertaining to your free will, there are a certain form of interventional fleet that can assist you, focusing upon that symbol and giving out that request. I feel that my free will is being violated. My thoughts are not my own. My energy, my body does not feel appropriate, does not feel like it is in peak performance mode here, it feels like it is being violated, then this is something that you can utilize in regards to connecting with the interventional fleet. And basically what they will do is they will work with you and they will assist in regards to certain encryption matters to ensure that your work as a ground crew member is becoming fulfilled.
That's very interesting. Can I ask you a few questions about what's going on with the cabal and the earthquakes? What's causing that and what's being taken down in terms of bases?
Well, the whole idea in that sense, it is a mixed bag pertaining to what is primarily happening here. Now, basically, many of your underground installations are being dismantled. The whole idea in that sense is because, shall we say, they are last-ditch efforts that often represent escape routes and often represent the idea of certain types of weaponization. And so we can't really go too deeply in that sense because we do not want to, in that sense, interject primarily with free will. But much of the small sporadic earthquakes that you felt have been happening have been the effect of these dismantling bases. And so there are certain underground bases and even underwater bases that are therefore being dismantled. They are not being destroyed per se because they will be reused. This will be humanity's bases in the times ahead. And so that is primarily what is happening here. Now, with other particular types of earthquakes, some of them have represented the idea of nuclear devices. One example being Japan. Japan has, in that sense, gone through another particular artificial earthquake in that particular way because of their refusal, in that sense, to cooperate with many of these rogues. So that is primarily what has happened there. There have been, again, other particular types of artificial earthquakes done through the state of other particular forms of agendas pertaining to these rogue groups, which we will not go into. But primarily about what is happening here with many of these different underground installations is that they are being dismantled. Technology is being taken away by basically deactivating it through the idea of many of these rogue alliances that are, again, attempting to escape the planet. They realize that they're done here. There's nothing really much they can do here on Earth. They are attempting to preserve their empire on another planet, such as Mars. This has been averted. They are staying with what they created. They will remain on the Earth. And they will basically, through this remaining of what they have created, move into having all of their agendas uprooted. And so as we stated, within the next 8 years, between 2016 to 2024, is the span of change, a time of great uprooting. And so as we stated, many of these underground installations, these underwater installations, will be facilities that will be utilized by humankind within your times ahead.
May I ask you a question? What's going on with the secret space programs and all of those alliances, what they're doing right now?
Well, that is a vast question because there are many different mixtures pertaining to what is happening. Again, understand that your Earth Alliance and that your Secret Space Alliance in that way are going through conflicts. There is the idea that many different agendas do not match. But there are, shall we say, specific agreements. And what this has to do is, shall we say, moving your Earth more into environmental repair, environmental rehabilitation, and being able to work together and working with technologies that will complement the planet. So that is something that is mutually agreed upon. It is also an agreed upon aspect that the money system is going to be changing as it relates to the form of exchange currently pertaining to your monetary form. So there are, shall we say, different types of communications between the Earth Alliance and between the secret space programs in that sense, from what we can observe, relating to your money situation. We do not have specific details with that, but that is basically what is being communicated with at this particular time. There are, again, other particular forms as it relates to disclosure. There are groups who only want to have a controlled disclosure, a partial disclosure, as you know. And there are those who, in that sense, who are attempting to push forward for a full disclosure. Basically, what is happening right now is that more of the majority is moving towards a full disclosure contingency.
Is there sort of a plan that the secret space programs have for this full disclosure, how this will unfold for us humans here on the surface of the planet?
That is still being communicated with. Now, again, much of it may relate to the idea of an eventual press conference. Many of it, in that sense, may represent the idea of certain forms of ambassadors that relate to other particular beings that may come forward in some type of public venue. Some of it may also relate to the idea of grand sightings. So there are, shall we say, debates in the air. Nothing has been finalized in regards to a concrete measure.
Does the Inner Earth Alliance have anything to contribute to that, like the Inner Earth beings?
Many of them have basically been coerced into the idea of working together with humanity. Now, we are saying coerced because they are not very comfortable with it, but they realize that this is where it is going. This is basically part of their work. Now, that's not to say that all of them are disappointed. There are quite some that are actually quite relieved that they're able to share this, because many of them, in that sense, have been holding much of this stress upon their shoulders for a great deal of time. Now, we are not just talking about your human Argothans. We are referring to others as well, too. There is more to the Argothan network than just humans. But again, understand that those particular groups will come at a later time, because many of them represent non-human energies. And so basically, eventually, at some point, they will come forward as well, too. And they are also very interested in working together with mankind. But there must be, in that sense, a certain form of filtration here, which means that it is human beings working with human beings. It is not so much an idea that there is a revealing of a completely non-human being that is coming forward, because that would create more fright. So the whole idea here is working more so together with the human collective energy relating to the Argothans, relating to extraterrestrials, that will eventually bring you into more of an understanding about other types of races that exist, and that will eventually, shall we say, connect and communicate together with you, interact in that way in the times ahead. So right now, it is still, shall we say, a nurturing stage as it presents to the idea of the Argothan network, as it relates to the extraterrestrials, as it relates to the hybrids. And we feel, again, that the hybrids will be one of the first that will interact with you, the beings that you would commonly know as the Yael.
Who are the other non-human ETs that are part of the Agartha network that you say will come forward in the future? Can you talk about them a little bit?
Many of these particular beings would represent that of insectoid races, beings that look very similar between your ants and your mantis. There are also other particular serpentine beings that look much like serpents. There are also reptilian beings that, again, look somewhat to the degree of, shall we say, human, or shall we say saurian in that particular way. There are also beings that you would know as the Sasquatch that also exist. There are also beings that you would know in underwater that represent mermaids that also exist. And so again, there are also crystal beings that exist as well too, although they function in different types of dimensions as elementals. So again, there is a large smorgasbord in that way pertaining to different types of life existing on your planet that do represent the Argotha. And when we say Argotha, we're referring to the idea of inner kingdom. That is primarily the definition that we give it.
And in terms of what is happening on Mars currently, are there still a lot of humans on Mars in terms of the secret space programs?
Yes, there are. But again, there have been, shall we say, certain catastrophes that have led to large amounts of loss of life.
What kind of catastrophes?
Something we really cannot get into.
Okay. Is the interplanetary corporate conglomerate being taken down? No. Or controlled in any way?
No, they must be exposed first before the idea of dismantling happens.
Are they creating a lot of weaponry right now?
Well, understand that there are certain forms of, shall we say, behind the scenes agencies that are attempting to, shall we say, expose them in that way, but more so in the idea of an intergalactic forum. Not so much in the idea about what's happening on Earth, because many of you have no clue about what the interplanetary corporate conglomerate is. So the whole idea in that sense is that there is a lot of work being done behind the scenes with other particular faculties of agencies that are coming forward to basically cease this attempt of weaponization, pertaining to the idea of weaponization being traded to other beings. So again, that is something that is being taken seriously, but again, we do not hold too much information with that because it really does not concern your culture at this particular time. At some point, it will become more brought forward in the limelight, as many insiders in that sense are bringing more awareness to it. But right now, it is still, shall we say, somewhat of an alien concept.
Can you tell me a little bit about what is happening with the Dark Fleet right now and where they are in all of this?
They exist beyond your star system. Now, the individual that you know as Corey Good has talked about this quite extensively, that they represent a contingency of what you would know as the Draco Empire, and that they are basically existing outside of your star system at this particular time. And so again, they are utilizing their own particular agendas. They are much more in that idea of a service to conquest, of a service to, in that sense, to conquer in that particular way. That is much more of their agendas, but they too are also being monitored. But no immediate action has been taken in regards to any halting of any agendas that represent them at this time.
Are they any threat to Earth?
No.
Are there any other ET species?
The Draco Empire is no longer a threat not only to Earth, but your entire star system.
Are there any other species that are a threat to Earth at this time?
No. Understand that your star system is highly sanctioned. It is highly sanctioned in regards to sanitization. Now, many of the Solar Warden fleets, the Radiant Guardian fleets, other particular forms of intergalactic fleets that are extraterrestrial in nature, all have a common alliance. And basically, much in regards to, shall we say, the White Hat agenda is to clear much of the artificial intelligence from your star system, as Corey Good has talked about. That is, in that sense, an agenda. And again, being able to work in uprooting much of these levels of suppression. The main goal right now pertaining to Earth is not to worry if it's going to be destroyed. It won't. Not to worry if your solar system is in some sort of danger. It isn't. The whole idea right now is to uproot suppression, is to getting human beings step by step caught up about what is happening within your star system as it relates to the secret space program, about what is happening pertaining to the idea of extraterrestrial disclosure, about what is happening relating to the true nature of your planet Earth, about what is happening relating to the associations that you have with different extraterrestrial beings, about what you can all do to work together with your planet so that more of this information can be revealed. That is the dynamic about what is being brought forward here in this particular time of period.
Can you tell me about why the planet Earth specifically was created as this grand experiment with karma and all these different races that have genetically populated this planet?
Our best response for that is that it fits the part.
What do you mean by fits the part?
Energetically, it isn't aligned in relating to everything that the human race has been designed to be. It simply fits. It's basically saying that why do we have this type of body existing on this earth? Because it fits, because it aligns, because it magnetizes, because it is appropriate relating to the themes that you have been willing to explore. Earth represents a suitable canvas relating to everything that was meant to be explored through the human race, because of its diversity of climatic zones, because of its diversity of agricultural understanding, because of its diversity of nature selection. All of that is prime pertaining to what needs to be brought forward here. It is meant to be a multicultural, intergalactic exchange center of information. That is its purpose. That is simply what it is. It's basically asking us, why is a sphere a sphere? Because that's its geometry. So again, why is the Earth set for humanity? Because that's its geometry.
Is it true that 22 different species colonize this planet and we have this in our genetic makeup as well?
It would be more appropriate to state that 22 different species have contributed their genetic stock to allowing the colonization of humanity to come forward. Now, all of those 22 races, yes, have had certain associations with Earth in your ancient past, and that they have all agreed through this particular type of experiment to create a universal genome known as human race. And so basically that has been their agreement. So they have all had some type of associations together with this. And again, many of them extend from the constellation that you would know as Lyra, because the whole idea in that sense is that it is a remaking of an ancient planet. And so basically that is what Earth represents. That is her energy. And so these 22 different races have ties to those times of Lyran extensions. And they have basically come here and decided that their connections together, sharing genetic material, is all part and parcel of refragmenting a particular seed that came into the birth of this universe relating to the human race. So these 22 different species are part of the catalyst of attempting to recrystallize and refragment this original seed that represents the original capability of the human being.
That is interesting. So, going forward, as our planet evolves here on Earth, what do you see in the evolutionary stages? If you can talk about that.
Well, again, you are starting to see that now upon your planet. You are starting to see how many people are awakening, moving into the idea of taking back their power, and realizing that as they continue to grow, that they will start to feel that nature is communicating with them. That truly is one of your grandest abilities. The ability to instantaneously manifest, the idea to surf the spectrum of contrast and being able to gain experiences through those contrasting states. The ability for you to move into such a beautiful world that can educate you with so much through its nature, through its agriculture, through its environment, through its animal life, through its plant life, etc. Everything here is a teacher. Everything here is a library. And so primarily what is happening is that you are evolving yourselves, working back to the original alliance of you becoming caretakers for the planet. So that can be telepathy, that can be empathic ability, that can be instantaneous manifestation eventually. But again, really what it all comes down to is that you are being conscious caretakers of the planet because now you are able to read the books inside the living library.
And what do you mean in terms of what is the living library? Can you explain
Everything that represents consciousness, everything that represents life is facultated through the interface of Earth. Earth is a computer. That is basically what she is. She is a living computer system. Now, many of you in that sense have simply been bred out of knowing how to access her. But again, if you look into much of your ancient Indian cultures, much in regards to ancient native cultures, much in regards to ancient Asian cultures, you will discover that in their ancient times, it was very common for many masters, gurus, sages, etc., to access the spirit of the earth and understand the grand experiment of how you reconnect together with creation. As we've stated, each and every single one of you are gods in training. We are not exaggerating that by any means at all. This is primarily what you are capable of. When you see a flower, that flower can tell you a million tales. When you see a tree, that tree can show you how it is interconnected with the entire world, and as well as helping you to interconnect with other particular types of nature that exist on other planets, that exist in other densities and realms. This is basically a supercomputer that Earth represents. And so you are basically becoming caretakers to access this natural, organic, living supercomputer that represents the planet Earth.
Can you tell me a little bit about the moon, who created it, and how it got here to Earth?
The idea of your moon in that sense originally began within the Pleiades. It was created there. It eventually moved into the area that you would know as Ursa Minor. It eventually became towed from Ursa Minor and planted into the planet that is no longer with you at this time, once known as Meldek. When Meldek fell, it now began to station itself within Earth because it was the continuation of a new experiment that Earth itself volunteered herself to become a part of. The moon itself represents that of a spacecraft. It is an artificial structure. It is capable of moving on its own. It has its own propulsion system. It is capable of, in that sense, trajecting itself into different forms of alignments into any point of your star system if it so wishes. It does not have superluminous capability, however, and so it is basically, shall we say, requiring a state of towing if it was basically to go somewhere else. So basically the towing could come through another particular type of spacecraft, or in that sense, a comet or anything of that nature. So basically the whole idea in that sense is that it is a monitoring station. It has been for a great deal of time. It is also a laboratory in that particular way as well. It also has certain forms of technological apparatus that is allowing it to function in regards to, shall we say, generating a frequency barrier around your planet to allow, shall we say, a sanctioned type of experiment such as Earth to take place relating to the idea of, shall we say, certain frequency suppression, so that you are not, shall we say, instantly telepathic and are able to have a 7 billion plus amount of thoughts from other people entering your mind. So there are certain forms of frequency generations that come together upon this moon that are being broadcast upon your Earth to create a type of suppression field. Now that will eventually be lightened up more and more as the race matures. So again, the whole idea of the purpose of this moon It is a monitoring station. It is a partially suppression device, and it is a laboratory.
Is it true that the moon was once a beautiful planet with trees
Yes,
on it and water?
correct. It
And
was.
how was that destroyed off of the surface of the moon that it became barren?
The closest thing we could say is that it had to do with, shall we say, certain levels of intergalactic war.
Were there reptilians part of that war?
Partially.
Who else was part of the war?
That is something that's very, very complicated. And again, not too much of an importance right now that we can go into, because again, that misses the point.
Why did the war happen, if I may ask, just generally?
Differences of perspective. Isn't that the way of how all war starts?
Yes.
Differences of perspective is what creates the misunderstandings of feeling that there needs to be an aggression, that there needs to be a domination. And that is how war begins. The idea in that sense of people feeling suppressed, people feeling threatened, the idea in that sense of conquering energy. And basically, this is what leads to the idea of an all-out war. So basically, you could refer to that much of the scars that you see on the moon are all part of those skirmishes. Not only what happened into this star system, but in regards to other forms of transits to where your Earth, to where, shall we say, your moon has been. From the Pleiades, from Ursa Minor, to the Sol system.
In terms of what's happening, I've heard in BC, Canada, that there might be an earthquake. Is that going to happen, or is that being suppressed?
Well, understand that, again, many of these particular types of earthquake attempts that are basically being categorized are often only being able to be made through certain technological aspects. The whole idea right now is that we do not sense any particular forms of agenda relating to the idea of a British Columbia or Californian earthquake. Right now, that has very much attempted to happen, but has been averted over and over again. This has been something that has been taking place since, shall we say, your own early 80s in that way, that there has been, in that sense, an attempt to, shall we say, create a vast earthquake to fulfill a biblical prophecy. That's basically what it represents. What we can state is that much of this has been averted, as you already know. Yes?
Yes, I've been
So
part of
basically,
that.
that's primarily what's happening right now, is that any particular type of, shall we say, biblical prophecy that is attempting to be fulfilled in regards to these rogue groups are basically being averted, are being shut down. This is, again, why certain underground installations are being terminated at this time.
In terms of healing technology, the technology that was in Atlantis will healing chambers, healing the body so you're not sick anymore. Will that be coming soon to us, to the general public on this
It will
planet?
be availed eventually at some point, but again, understand that it is, shall we say, taking baby steps. You cannot feed a baby a steak. You have to understand that right now there are certain nurturing steps. It is basically looking into the idea of what you have deemed appropriate relating to practical-based situations of technology. So your solar panels, your wind panels, your tidal energy in that sense, or your wind mills, wind turbines, shall we say, in that sense, is basically practical alternatives. There will eventually be more revealing pertaining to the idea of these technologies. But again, they must be done in baby steps. So eventually, yes, this type of technology will come out, but not for some time yet.
What about teleportation and replicators? Will those be the first to be seen on this planet?
Again, understand that in order for something of that nature to be brought upon your planet, the majority must be aware of it. We understand that there are many different types of secret space program insiders and other particular experts that really want to have these particular types of technologies unleashed immediately. That can't happen. The whole idea in that sense is that your collective must be aware, because if it is something that is looking to be aware of the collective must be made aware of it. And so when the collective is more aware that technology such as a materializer exists, then that will become more so primed pertaining to the collective consciousness. You have to look at equivalent exchange. So again, when you are looking at the idea of a materializer or of a free energy device or a teleporter in that particular way, there needs to be baby steps towards these technologies. They are not just going to instantly spring out. There are, in that sense, many different innovations that are coming forward upon your time. That's because the Earth is able to, the Earthlings, shall we say, are able to read the Earth's unified field. And they're realizing that there are more improvements pertaining to technology. They are starting to work with teleportation in certain forms of labs. And again, they are attempting to successfully transport objects with success. But the whole idea in that sense is that this is not made public yet. So again, within the next couple of decades, it feels more primarily likely that the idea of teleporters, that the idea of materializers in that sense, will become much more commonplace. But again, if there is no recognition on a collective level to these particular types of technologies, they will not be made as a public forum. That is simply the rule of your planet pertaining to free will and equivalent exchange.
Okay, I have some questions from our viewers.
Yes.
Would you like to answer some?
If you like.
So first question is from Omran Aziz, and his question is, are there beings who are in the 10th, 20th, or 100th density, or does it only go up to 7th density? Could you explain?
There are only 12 densities within your universal plane. Within our universal plane exists 12 densities. Now, you may be referring to the idea of certain forms of dimensions, because there is a difference between densities and dimensions. There are 144, or rather in this time, 145 dimensions, because of the new 13th dimension that is coming into this star system, or shall we say into this universal matrix. And so there are 145 dimensions. Now, basically looking into that 145 dimensions and 13 densities, there is a great deal of existence containing to all those densities. You have to understand your entire universal dynamic is alive. Everything from the highest degree of the ladder that you can imagine to the lowest degree of the ladder that you can imagine. All life exists within the matrix of the universe. So therefore, to answer your question, yes, life, existence, creation, energy, consciousness exists in all domains of density and dimension.
So how do these lower density beings and higher density beings express themselves in these various dimensions and densities?
Well, understand that your first density pertains to your elemental kingdom. Your second density represents that of your plant and animal kingdom. Your third density represents the idea of a sentient kingdom, from which you would know in that sense as a self-sentient kingdom. The fourth density represents more of a unified sentient kingdom. The fifth density represents more of a caretaker or guardianship kingdom. The sixth density represents more of a, shall we say, connection more so to the higher self, more so connecting to the idea of energies and unification beyond the idea of physicality connection. Seventh density would be what you would know as the oversoul connection, or again, higher angelic connection. This then crosses into the eighth density, which is, shall we say, an alpha and omega, shall we say, harmonization that branches you into a whole new collective of monadic principle, which moves into planetary, star, galactic, universal, multiversal, God, goddess connection. These represent the primary densities in regards to its archetypal nature.
And I have a question here from X Later. He's asking, when humans move into the fourth or fifth density, what will happen to the other individuals who are not ready to move into those densities? Will they stay on 3D Earth?
Yes. Yes. Primarily what is happening right now is that as you move more into the fourth density planet, as we have stated, that it is not the idea that once you move up a ladder, that the other rungs disappear. You are very much aware of where you have come from by moving up these rungs of a ladder. So if you're looking at a fourth density rung upon a ladder, third density, second density, first density still exists. So basically you are still commingling together in a certain way, relating to beings that are in those other particular types of densities. So they do not, in that sense, just mysteriously vanish. They are playing out with the energies that they have created. This is basically the effect of their own extreme states of karma. So basically the beings that are not able to be locked in to the fourth density Earth are basically, shall we say, being witnessed, where you are, shall we say, here and looking at this screen, and you are seeing the third density world playing with the extremes that they have created because they have chosen not to move. The idea of moving into fourth density is a choice. It is not something that is being done for you. This is your own choice. This is the alignments, the magnetics that you carry with yourself. And you move yourself up into the density because you represent that fit. You fit in that particular matrix. That's physics. This is vibratory physics here that we are talking about. And so when a being is becoming too heavy, relating to a great deal of denseness pertaining to their own emotional, energetic body, they can't uplift. That's the whole idea. This is why it's called upliftment. You are basically losing weight in that sense, or shall we say, more so appropriately, harmonizing with the weight so that it is being stripped off. So you are basically, in that sense, like a snake that is shedding its skin, being able to move yourself into a higher degree of upliftment because the emotional heaviness does not keep you down on the ground. So that's why there are beings in that sense in those extreme states that are still existing in third density. They have created so much emotional baggage upon themselves. You must think of it as the analogy of carrying two very large boulders on your shoulders and having another boulder attached to your feet and attempting to swim upwards and meet the surface past the ocean. You can't do it. You have to let go of the boulders. You have to detach yourself from the idea of all of that weight in order for you to rise and to resurface. So basically, that's representing the idea of those who are moving into a fourth density. It is not, shall we say, waking up one morning and feeling that the physical parameters of your entire planet has changed. That's not what's happening here. The whole idea is that you're moving into a density. Many of you won't even know this has even happened. That's the whole idea. That's how, shall we say, similar Earth will feel, even though she is moving into a fourth density planet, into a fourth density consciousness. Many of you won't even know you're there. This is how seamless it is. So the whole idea in that sense is you're still interacting with certain third density beings, yes, but you are not getting caught up in everything that represents their melodramas. Their melodramas are the extremes of the own emotions that they carry. And so they are basically playing out their own extremes with what they have created. And now you are moving into a fourth density mainframe and are now working more towards self-improvement and betterment. That's your mission, working together as a unified, cooperative neighborhood on a planetary scale. If you are familiar with the project that you would know as Ubuntu, that is your future. That is basically where you're all going. You will eventually abolish money. You will eventually abolish impoverishing. You will eventually abolish war. You will eventually abolish technology that harms the planet. All of that is going to be gone. Here within the next decade, you will start to see that more of the Ubuntu movement will become, shall we say, the new thing, the new trend, where people are truly understanding that when you move into 2020, 2030, around that time, that this is going to be something that's very, very exciting. It will pick up a full head of steam. It will start to work very much strongly in the Eastern world. And then the Western world will start to be caught up with this a lot more, and that will start to branch in that way. So again, between 2020, 2030, these are the prime times pertaining to the development of the Ubuntu movement. Between 2030, 2040, this generates much more of a further establishment. By 2050, you will reach a point where you are, in that sense, initiates as part of an interstellar alliance.
X-Lighter had another question. What part of the human population has reached ascension now? What percentage?
Well, again, you have to understand what you consider to be ascension, because much of it in that sense is distortion. The whole idea in that sense is that ascension, from our particular perspective, represents advancement, not ascension in regards to you becoming light beings. So again, understand that that type of ascension is extremely rare. That requires, in that sense, a great deal of mental discipline. That requires, in that sense, you to truly be connected with all things. That is not the type of ascension here we are talking about. This is advancement, or this is an ascent. So again, we're not talking about ascension. We're talking about the ability of you making an ascent, of simply climbing the rung of a ladder and moving into fourth density. So you could look at that as an ascent or an advancement. And so the idea of an ascent or an advancement is being able to come to terms with everything that you create. That's the whole idea. If you feel that you are constantly feeding an energy that you don't prefer, you need to look into that. You need to acknowledge that it exists. You need to accept it for what it is. You need to forgive it. As you forgive it, you are now bringing about positive reinforcement that represents its opposite, so that the positive and the negative are able to work together and harmonize with each other and allow the waters to become calm. That is how you move into advancement. And so again, you could say that yes, ascension itself is being able to move past into higher states of advancement, where you feel your interconnectedness to all things. And when you feel your interconnectedness to all things, this is how the rainbow body activates. And as the rainbow body activates, you become a super luminous being. And you no longer exist within this plane because you have come to terms with everything that exists. You see everything as yourself. You see the interconnection. You relate. You connect back into the harmoniousness of oneness. That is the nature of true ascension. But again, where you are going right now is advancement, not ascension.
And how much percentage of the population on the planet is part of this advancement process in percentages, if you could give us that?
100%.
Excellent.
But the whole idea in that sense is not everybody is able to make that percentage. Everybody that's on this planet right now, that includes your rogue elites, are here for ascension altogether in the form of completion. But again, they feel that what they have done has been enlightening. That's their perspective. That's what they grew up with. They feel that using people in this way, manipulating, causing this particular form of greed and corporations, etc., is what needs to be done to bring about a perfect world so that they can become gods. That's their perspective of an ascension. So the whole idea in that sense is that every single being that is on this planet has come for ascension. Will they make it there? Probably not. So again, there is only a very small percentage out of that 100% that will actually make that. We do not have a percentage of that because that is very much sporadic. But again, we will say that approximately 15 to 20% of your world population have been, in that sense, the effective ground crew that have come here, and it is growing now. That percentage is rising, and basically allowing themselves to carry out this mission to repair the earth, to harmonize with humanity, and to bring in that state of self-connection, the inbound, as we call it.
And do these advancement windows, are they ongoing? Is there a chance for this all to happen?
It's always ongoing, yes. It is always ongoing. There will always be windows, because understand that everything exists in cycles. You have cycles of seasons, yes? Does that ever stop? No.
No.
So the whole idea is that windows continue to happen. You are always having these new emergings of windows coming together. And so you are emerging through these windows, and we refer to these windows of opportunity as tally-ups. And so basically they are accumulation points. So throughout your own day, you may reach a lot of states of revelations. And when a window appears, the ending of a cycle in that way, that is a tally-up. As that tallies up, you move yourself into a higher connection. This is why many of you feel that there is a certain point that happens at the end of a cycle where you feel the energy is so intense, where you feel that you're going through a lot of emotional shifts on that day, where you feel that a lot of stuff is happening on the planet on that day. That's a tally-up. That's a window. So basically, these windows continue to happen. It's as natural as the cycle of the seasons.
So basically, there are many ascension windows and opportunities, yes?
There always will be, infinitely. So that's the whole idea, is that number itself seems finite, but in regards to its state of calculation, becomes infinite.
So basically, some people are asking, is this just a one opportunity for ascension and then it's gone? Can't do it anymore?
Moving into what you would know as a third density to fourth density cycle appears every 75,000 years. So the idea of a density uprising in that way appears every 75,000 years to that particular effect. So this is primarily what you are going through, with, again, certain octaves coming together approximately around a 25,000 year period. So again, every 75,000 years, there is, in that sense, a colossal density shift. Between those triads of connection, there are certain octave shifts that move up into higher density that represent the idea of harvest. So again, yes, between these particular cycles of a 75,000 year period, which represents, in that sense, a grand age, and the other ages between the 25,000 are, shall we say, these windows of opportunities for advancement, of moving up into different densities.
Are we at the 75,000 year window or the 25,000?
Yes, the 75,000 year window.
So it
now,
is
the 25,000 in that sense does play an effect, but as does the 75,000. This is why you're moving from third density to fourth density, which has not been done in that sense as an opportune window within 75,000 years. So many of you in that sense will move up into harvest.
So we are in the grand cycle of the 75,000 years upcoming right now.
Correct.
Okay. I have a personal question from 8 Rockwell. It's a bit of a long question, so may I read it all?
If you wish.
Hi, Adronis. Recently on Rob Guthrie's show, when you mentioned certain individuals being liaisons for certain collectives in the Argarthan network, I felt a great resonance with that in my body. Can you tell me if I am one of those individuals?
Well, let's tell you a little secret. When you feel a personal resonance with a particular race that you feel very well connected with, you have already answered your own question. You feel that resonance for a reason because you are connected with them. So we would say in confirmation, yes. If you truly feel a resonance with the Argothan network, you have connections with them. You have other particular lifetimes with them, quite possibly. But there is a very strong connection that you have with those energies. You feel a resonance and you can't explain it. It's not about saying to another person, yeah, I feel this really, really strongly. Is this happening to me? No, not at all. You're not going to believe that person because you know you feel it inside yourself. What we are here to do, dearest humans, please understand this. We are here to help you empower yourselves. We are not here to give you all the answers. That's not our job. That is not our work. That is not anyone else's work that exists beyond your planet or within it. Your job is to take seriously your trust, your love, your resonance. If you feel that, yes, I am connected to the Argothan network, yes, I am connected to this extraterrestrial race, yes, I feel that this is going to become my new passion project, that is your own natural self telling you, for goodness sakes, trust yourself. That's the whole idea. We are not here to give you all of your information about yourself. We are guides. We're here to have a hands-off policy to helping you understand, to trust yourself. We are still somewhat perplexed why many of you feel these really highly passionate states and feel so deeply connected with it, but you still need to have confirmation for another. With all due respect, that is not an empowered being. You need to start trusting yourselves. You need to start going into this love. This is the primary lesson that we're attempting to teach you, is that when you feel that resonance, when you feel that this is so true to your heart, it feels so genuine, trust yourself. Love that situation and bring that into your life. That's the whole idea. That's how powerful you are. We are not more powerful than you. We are not your gods. We are not your deities, even though there has been certain types of perceptions of that in the ancient past, but those are distortions. The whole idea is that you are the gods that you have been looking for. This is your passion. This is what you feel in resonance with. Trust yourself and work together within that path. That's what we're trying to teach you, not to feel that we have to give you all the information here for you to say, oh, well, Adronis said that was true, so that must be true for me. No, that is disempowerment. So look into the idea of saying that Adronis is guiding me in this particular energy, and now I feel this light. Now I feel this resonance. Oh my goodness, this is who I am. Yes, that is empowerment. So that is what we want to share with all of you, to be very conscientious of your own trust, of your own love, of your own energies and harmony with yourself. Not about us, not about another entity, not about another channel, not about another expert, etc. You are the only one that is going to shape your reality. We can't. You can. So that is what we want to heavily remind you with, of the empowerment factor. Trust, love, honor yourself.
And another question from X Later. He's asking, those that remain in the third dimension on Earth, will they still be able to experience life in the fourth dimension or fifth dimension? Is that a possibility?
No. Again, as we stated, this is a point of graduation. Again, a graduation that will not occur for another 75,000 years. So the whole idea is that those that remain within third density, because of the heavy weight of emotions that are coming through, they are basically, in that sense, having to go through cycles. Now, again, as we stated, between the 25,000-year cycles, there are opportune times for, shall we say, windows of advancement to move into those dimensions, but they are not as ripe as a 75,000-year window. So primarily when beings are contained in third density because they have all this heavy weight and they are unable, or rather unwilling, to let go of it, they stay with what they create. They remain within that third density window. Well, what basically happens to them is once they reach that point of expiration, they must go to another place that holds a third density capacity. That can be another Earth-like world in that sense, another particular plane. That's all up to their soul. But basically what happens if they are not able to graduate in the idea of a fourth density nexus, they will stay with what they created and align themselves into another property of placement that is appropriate for their continued learning.
What do you see happening in 2017? Will the new financial system be in place, and will power change
Well, we say it is
dynamics?
likely. Right now, we don't have a definite date about what you would call your financial system because it is going through changes right now. We have referred to 2017 as a year of connection. Now, again, what is happening is not an economic collapse, not a worldwide economic collapse. We would say that there are much more shaky grounds in that particular way, but there is not the idea of a world collapse or an economic collapse in that way. That would bring about catastrophic nature, and that is not what is happening. There will be shakeups, and there will be, in that sense, intense times, and that can allow, shall we say, opportune windows to come forward and share a lot more information during those shakeup times. But as far as in that sense, a wide world collapse economically, no. That particular aspect has been averted.
Wonderful. Would you like to share with us anything, any pearls of wisdom that you have for people at this time?
Well, again, really, as just we stated, look into the empowerment factor of yourself. This is the most important part. Again, if you feel that you are living a life that is not you, you really need to look into that. We can't change that for you. Nobody else can. Not the Andromedans, not the Arcturians, not the Syrians, not the Pleiadians, not the Argothans, not some expert upon your planet. You have to change that. And so if you feel that you are living a life that is very much conflicting, please look into that for your own sake, not for the sake of anyone else. Ensure that you are living a life that you prefer. Some may say, oh, Jonas, it's just too difficult. It's just too hard. Everything that I've been taught has been telling me that I feel worthless, that I devalue myself. Then again, you need to look into your entire life stream and just find that one little caveat of joy, because we can guarantee you, 100% of you, you have that little caveat of joy. And you need to start igniting that. You need to start bringing all of that positive energy into that, because that is how it is transitioned. You are not going to try and wish away your negative energies in that way. That can't happen. That won't work. Equivalent exchange is the nature of reality. And if you truly want to allow yourself to align to a harmonious life, you need to become the harmonious life by firstly looking at everything that has represented disharmony and attempting to resolve that, to forgive it, and allowing all of that energy that you're putting up in the positive, because the key here is that anything that is fundamentally energetically negative must have an equal or greater energetic in the positive alignment in order for it to become counterbalanced. Because if you only have a little bit of positive energy and you have this much of negative, it's not going to be able to counteract. You need to have at least an equal greatness pertaining to the idea of positive energy to allow that to mingle, to allow it to connect, to allow the order and the chaos to fuse, so that the negative energy can now shrink. Because here's the thing, positive energy has more of a lightness to it. And because it is light, light always overtakes darkness, even on an equal mass. And so basically, the positive energy, the light, is now absorbing all of the shadow. And that is primarily what is happening. And then you will eventually become harmonized with that positive energy. And now the waves become calm again. It is now calm waters. That's how it works. That's what you must do in order for you to advance yourself past any particular type of negativity of mentality, to allow yourself to accommodate equivalent exchange, love yourself, empower yourself, heal yourself. That is the key.
May I ask 2 more questions of you?
If you wish.
That's okay. What is happening with chemtrails? Are those being stopped?
There is still, again, certain forms of debate upon your planet relating to even the Citizens Council of attempting to understand what these chemtrails are. Now, there eventually will be a plan to where these will be stripped from the skies. But again, shall we say, there's still a lot of secrecy behind much of the agenda. But we do sense within the next couple of years, yes, there will be more further actions taken that will actually allow these chemtrails to cease. Again, the whole purpose of these chemtrails from their cover-up perspective in that sense is that they are basically attempting to, shall we say, hold a certain type of, shall we say, smoke screen, a particular aspect of feeling that they are doing some type of environmental control, trying to, in that sense, shield the sun from penetrating the earth in that way. That is primarily the focus. But again, they can also utilize heavy lines of toxicity throughout these particular types of chemtrails. And that, again, this is affecting your populace. So again, the more that you come together in the majority sense and demand what is happening with these chemtrails, what are in them, and being able to create a very large movement to stop them, which is just starting to happen right now, then that is basically the emphasis of a precursor to moving forward and ceasing the chemtrail action.
In British Columbia, there are currently some people who want to see a healing center / spirituality center happen somewhere in the BC area. And there's some land in Campbell Valley, Langley area. Why is that land so sacred, and why are people being drawn to go there right now?
Well, you do understand that British Columbia, Canada, in that sense, was once Lemurian homeland, yes?
Yes.
So understand that that is basically the reason of the sacredness itself. It has been blessed throughout generations, pertaining to the idea of its rich nature, and in that sense, spiritual occupancy. So in that sense, there are a great deal of spirits that exist all across the land because of its rich wilderness. And in that sense, its alignment, in that sense, pertaining to your planet, is what allows this energy to become so sacred. It is a hot zone, shall we say, pertaining to much spiritual worship, spiritual practicing, harmonization with nature. And again, has been part of that for centuries, for thousands of years.
So basically, what is so special about the Campbell Valley land specifically?
Well, you need to decide exactly what special means to you. Special is a point of view. What does it mean to you? When you stand there, what does it mean to you? When you look at this land, what does it mean to you? Some people refer to Canada as God's country. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, looking at the idea of your Campbell River area, your BC area, it is a rich foundation of purity. It is a purity energy. It is governed by spiritual beings. This is, again, much of the nature spirits that you would understand. Many different elemental consciousness exist very commonly within your British Columbia territory because of the richness of wilderness. So this is what we're saying to you, is that the nature itself is the blessing. It is the speciality, the nature itself and all the life that it attracts, all of the energy that it attracts in that particular way. So that is the blessing.
Beautiful. And I have one more question from a gentleman named Sergei Shashenko.
Yes.
He's asking, can ormus, ORMUS, such
Yes.
as monotic gold, be of assistance in moving to fourth density for people? What's the best way to consume monotic gold?
Well, here's the first thing. Please do not think that you need something outside of yourself to move into fourth density. That is incorrect thinking. The whole idea, again, is that these are tools. They are amplifiers. They can basically assist with the idea of, in that sense, helping to purify your body in certain ways. But the whole key here, what's keeping you down, is what did we just talk about in the beginning of this interaction? Emotions. All right? Your monoatomic gold is not going to make your emotions go away. Doesn't work. The whole idea in that sense of being able to use radionics, no. Crystals, no. They are amplifiers. They are helpers. They are not here to do a task for you. When you are looking to move up into fourth density to allow the emotions themselves to become purged, this must be done by you. You need to look at what you're attracting. Please, humans, stop looking for an easy button. There isn't one. The whole idea in that sense is that they are tools. You use crystals as tools. You can use pyramids as tools. You can use ormus as tools. You can use radionics as tools. You can allow your guides to work together with you in that form of assistance. But those are tools. Those are assisters. They are not here to move you into fourth density automatically. Can't be done. Now, again, it's true that there are certain forms of technological apparatus that certain beings do use that, in that sense, automatically increases your own molecular flow that can actually allow you to sift into different densities. But that is not something that is available upon your planet, and that's not really the correct idea of thinking. It's really looking into the idea in that sense is that you have the capability to move into fourth density. You have the capability to do that And it is all about doing it in the harmonious way. It's not about feeling that you need an apparatus or that you need some type of technology to go into fourth or fifth or sixth density, because yes, those technologies exist. But again, there are, shall we say, aspects of only seeing so much in those particular densities. When you choose a technological means to go into fourth, fifth, sixth density, you are actually only seeing a very small space of contrast pertaining to that, rather than the rainbow of opportunity that awaits when a person naturally moves into fourth density. So again, the key here is to work with your emotions, not to feel that there's something outside of yourself that's doing it for you.
Just out of curiosity, what do these machines look like, or how do they work that move you technologically into the higher densities?
Well, there are many different styles. There are those in that sense that do represent collars or belts. There are also ones that look like wristbands as well, too. Some also can appear as suits. Some can also be implants that are actually placed inside the body as well, too.
And what do you mean in terms of colors or collars?
Collars, from what you would know as necklaces or collars in that way.
Mm-hmm. And do they have color in them somehow?
Depends on the type of being that you talk to that allows it, because there are many different technological ranges pertaining to certain beings that connect with them. So yes, some are also just crystals, being able to hold on to crystals and being able to look at a certain sanction of the idea of fourth density. Some again do have certain colors, yes. Some can even look like rainbow colors. It all depends in regards to the type of beings that you communicate with, because there are many different, shall we say, ethnicities of beings that have created their own versions of fourth density and fifth density molecular accelerators that are basically moving into fourth and fifth density, because that's what a density is. Your molecules operate on a much more faster stream. And so basically, these apparatuses create that. They connect with that energy, and they help to improve your flow rate of molecular density and moving from one density into another. But because of your alignment, you are only able to see so much within those densities.
I've recently seen on the moon ascension chamber chairs that were left behind by ancient races.
Yes.
Do you know anything about those and how that works?
Well, these are, again, thought technologies. They're basically, in that sense, creating the idea of, shall we say, interfaces through thought. Yes?
Yes.
Now, some of them can be used in regards to interstellar travel, through the idea of, in that sense, vibrational technology, where one point here in point A, you have a spacecraft, and through the idea of thought, you are now in point B. And that represents the idea of thought transference, of thought-based technology. There are also others in that sense that can create interfaces that actually help you connect to other different realms as well. They are, again, consciousness technology. Not often, shall we say, nuts and bolts, although that is what some are attempting to recreate it as. But much in this, in that sense, interfaces with your own consciousness. So you can actually have what you would know as, shall we say, certain types of journeys that may appear psychedelic through these particular types of interfaces as well, too, to helping you interact with other beings as well. Some can even represent the idea of traveling to different dimensions as well, out-of-body experiences also.
Does Antarctica have a lot of this technology still left over?
Yes, Antarctica was once known as a great civilization. Now, again, basically, it was not all, shall we say, covered in ice. It was once part of a continent that actually had forests, that was actually lush, green, and beautiful. And there are actually ancient tribes that exist that, very similar to what you would know in appearance to your own Inuit.
Mm-hmm. Did Antarctica have Atlantis bases there?
Yes, they did.
Are those
This is, again,
bases?
why some of the technologies are being uncovered, such as stargates, such as pyramids as well.
And are those bases still intact and the technology still there in Antarctica?
Yes. Yes to all of those questions.
And scientists want that technology, yes?
Well, they are still attempting to duplicate it. They have already discovered the technology, but they're attempting to duplicate it. But again, it is ancient technology. It is what you would refer to as ancient builder race technology.
Speaking of the builder race, are they back? Are they near the planet right now?
Well, these are the beings that you would commonly know as the sphere beings.
Mm-hmm.
These are part of the guardian races that, again, the individual known as Corey Good spoke of. So he is indeed correct in looking at the idea that these spheres are guardians, are the beings that represented the ancient builder energy.
I have been in contact with the race called L of the Akashan starship, and they are saying that they're descendants of the ancient builder race. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay, so they're helping us here right now to balance the energies of the planet. Is that true?
Correct. Yes, because
Okay.
again, they hold some type of responsibility energetically to your world and to your people.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Adronis. That's wonderful.
We thank each and every single one of you. We thank you, Elena, again, for the opportunity of this interaction and for all of your wonderful, divine questions this day of your time. I am Adronis of Sirius. Thank you again, and we now return to the conduit. We'll speak to you again, as now is forever, and all is one. Goodbye.